my reports about this book, Elevate by Bob Glazer, and we just had him speak at a chapter event with Entrepreneurs Organization with my local chapter that I'm the chapter manager of. It's kind of about like personal capacity building and focusing in on your own core value. To start capacity building, he kind of says it's about always kind of seeking to acquire or develop the skills and abilities you want to just keep performing better. And it's based on the premise that high achievers aren't really God-given extra talent and skills. High achievers are people who kind of across all spectrums of life and business have found continuous ways to build their capacity faster than their peers. And so he talks about these kind of four areas to build capacity: emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and physical. And spiritual is, it doesn't necessarily mean religious or something like that, but it's more just about like what drives you, what's your kind of reason for living. So in terms of building your capacity, he shows it's kind of like a flywheel, but in the four areas when you're doing great, things progress. But if you're really short in one of the four areas, or only focusing on another area, it kind of puts you out of balance. So it's kind of saying that you won't be able to perform at your best. So when talking about balance, you want to figure out which of the areas is slowing you down, and that's often the key to put you back on course. One of the other things about this capacity building kind of personally is that it has an exponential effect on others when you are your best. So on your family, on the people that you lead. It's this concept of lifting while you climb. So it's contagious too. The more you work on yourself, the greater impact you have on everybody around you. So when you're coming up with your core values, these things kind of consciously or subconsciously drive your decisions, your important decisions, like what career you chose. See the dog. Hi, Betty. What career you chose, the partner you chose. When you're doing things that are aligned with your core values, you feel energized. And when you aren't, it drains your energy and you feel out of place. Like you just can sometimes have that feeling of like something's just not right. It's like a low level anxiety, I suppose. And when you're very clear on your values, you know how to make faster and better decisions. So if you want to try and think about your own core values, questions to ask yourself are: when do you feel happiest? When do you feel drained? And in what situations do you do well? And what situations do you struggle? And kind of use those as guides when you're trying to establish your core values. And he talks about an entrepreneur who really helps people discover their why, called Ridgely Goldsboro. So look up Ridgely Goldsboro on discovering your why. So in terms of like what this means on how you spend your time, Bob talks about creating this email called Friday Forward, which if you don't already subscribe, you should. It always has great nuggets every Friday. It's a quick read and just always about kind of personal development, professional development, sharing what other people are doing, or some kind of just thoughts on core values or things like that. So anyway, he was talking about kind of this energy drain or fueling, and made this commitment to align long-term goals and actions with these principles, and wanted to spend 80% or more of his time and effort on things that aligned with core purpose and values. So that means ruthlessly getting rid of things that do not align, or that, you can outsource, to somebody who enjoys those things. So trying to say no to existing relationships and commitments that no longer make sense now that you really know your core values. So that was really powerful to me, because it's so easy to say yes to everything, especially if you're a people pleaser and you really value all your relationships. You want to serve those people, but sometimes if you are not serving yourself or your core values, then it's at too high of an expense. So I don't know how. I still don't know the secret formula to balance that, because it's hard to say no. So I remember reading one time, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else, every other option for what you could do with that time. But if you say no to something, you're just keeping yourself open to every other option, or a more appropriate option, or whatever. So if you don't have this alignment, you might be running really hard in the wrong direction, or have some kind of appearance of success, but it feels inauthentic or it feels unfulfilling. Action steps. You can read this True North, Discover Your Authentic Leadership by Bill George. So I ordered a copy of that. I'm waiting for it to come. Or Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if you are very sensitive like me, there's a version of this book that is more intended for younger readers. So it's more like PG, a little less upsetting, because his story is very intense and sad, but powerful. So I recommend reading that too. All right, so now on to the intellectual portion. So the greater your intellectual capacity, the greater your level of achievement, but with a lower amount of expending energy. He talks about kind of fixed mindset and growth mindset, and I mean, that's been around for quite a while, but it's very powerful. So if you catch yourself saying any of these kind of fixed mindset sayings in your mind, these are the things that hold you into a box, and they'll prevent you from being able to perform, just by affecting kind of your subconscious. Like if you say things like, oh, I'm not good at math, when you are trying to do some sort of mental calculation, and you already have that pre-existing belief about yourself, you won't be good at math. And you could if you put in some effort, but you just won't, because you've already primed your mindset to say, like, no, I can't do that. So these are some examples. Like, I don't know if it's going to be backwards on the camera, but anyway, fixed mindset, I can't do this. Growth mindset, which is obviously the desirable one, is I'm going to train my brain in how to do this. So even at work and at home, like, just trying to catch yourself if you have a tendency towards a fixed mindset. And this isn't something, a fixed mindset is not fixed. You can change that by just reframing the conversation. So the next part is about kind of building resiliency. So this is about just overcoming physical obstacles or emotional obstacles to kind of increase your capacity. So it just, each time you do overcome something, it builds up more resilience and more capacity. If you don't really want to fight for it, you need to be willing to give up and move on without guilt, to apply that energy somewhere else. So just like freeing yourself, once you set your priorities, it gives you the freedom to say no, the freedom to let go of things that don't matter, and to really push through obstacles when they are in the way of you getting what you want, what you really want. The final kind of parts about health, physical health. So just taking 2 15-minute breaks during the day. He talks about going outdoors and with no technology if possible. Commit to using no technology in the first hour of your day after you wake up, and the last hour before you go to sleep. And this is kind of helps with getting better sleep as well. You can sign up for team sports or things like that once we're not locked in quarantine anymore. These help for kind of building up that competitiveness and accomplishing things and building teams. So, and then in terms of building your kind of emotional capacity, that involves overcoming your self-limiting beliefs. So it's one step deeper than just kind of the fixed versus growth mindset. These are sort of self-imposed, and it's easier and it's less scary to just manufacture reasons why you can't do something, and then acknowledging, what you're really capable of. So what people often really fear is doing the work that's necessary. So change your kind of language to I want to XYZ, like write a book, start a company, to I am going to. And just that small shift can change your mindset and how you can make decisions. And this you can bring to your family too, to your kids, right? Like you can tell them they can achieve anything they desire if they're willing to do what's required and make the decision to commit. So this kind of envelops all those 4 areas all in one. Discomfort and challenge. So there's no better or faster way to overcome self-limiting beliefs than to constantly force yourself outside of your comfort zone, or to be kind of pushed there by others. He says connection and challenge equals change. So this kind of came from somebody who does lots of work with at-risk youth, and it was, in terms of building capacity, it was you have to connect with the person and you have to challenge them. You might have to challenge their beliefs in what they can accomplish, and then once they overcome something, then they might realize, oh, okay, I am capable. Maybe that thing I believed about myself was actually not true, and I can do more, or whatever it is. So you say connection plus challenge equals change. Getting out of your comfort zone, that's critical for growth. So you got to learn to be more vulnerable, and that is not just about the physical kind of growth, but emotionally. Like you need to open up and let people see your weak spots, and we have them, and you want your friends and stuff to be able to help you and point out your blind spots, or share resources for you to kind of be more likely to achieve your goals that you want. Talks about social media, like they're so curated. You see the top 5% of everyone else's life, and you compare your whole existence to that. It's bad news. So you got to kind of, on that note, you got to curate your own news feed. If you find that you feel that way, then think about who you follow. Are you following like models, or are you following inspirational people who are living the kind of lifestyle that you want for yourself? Do the things that scare you a little. Other thing is about kind of attitude and gratitude, and there's a lot of stuff from Warren Rustand, who's a mentor to Bob Glazer. He's a long time loved EO speaker and leadership guru. He does lots of retreats for some of the top business people in the world. So he is one of the things he says is, if there's two different people, and this is about them waking up. First person throws back the covers, jumps out of bed, and says, "Good morning, Lord." And the other person kind of peeks out from under the covers and says, "Good Lord, it's morning." Like these are 2 completely different mindsets, and it talks about you need to have the mindset required for success. And so if you're just setting goals about what you're going to do, you're missing a big part of it. You're always going to be going against the grain, swimming upstream, because you haven't identified why it matters, and you don't believe in yourself yet. Part of it is honestly just having the thought, I recognize that I am capable of that thing that I want, and achieving that, versus just setting a goal. It's another level deeper. This was a great quote. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present. So that's a good reminder and kind of a great thing for meditating. Like if you get all in your head, sometimes meditating helps you kind of come up 10,000 feet and just recognize those feelings and thoughts as something that passes by. Like you get to kind of observe them from another place somehow, versus just being in them and kind of being on, like what they say, kind of on the bus with these feelings flying around. Your best relationships, friends, family, they encourage you to be better and they give you energies. They provide a support structure and make you healthier, touching every element of capacity building. And you can be this for other people as well. And it's just good to recognize poor relationships have the inverse effect. Those are people that maybe drain you, or they're leading a life that you don't want for yourself, and that like makes you feel like it's going backwards, and it's, I don't know. Just think about the people that you surround yourself with, and think about, do they encourage you to be better? Do they give you energy? Are they looking for some of the same things as you? Do they believe in themselves? Do they have ambition? Those kind of things. Think about the 5 people you associate with most in a day. Do those people kind of help you build your capacity, or do they pull you down to their level of mediocrity? Don't like the sound of that, but yeah, so you can create a relationship dashboard, sort of like listing out, let's say you list out the 30 most important people in your life and keep connecting with them. Like you could choose one name each day. This is one of the kind of action steps in this chapter. You could choose one name each day, call or email them, or send a handwritten note. And if you want to learn more about kind of cognitive dissonance, sort of when your actions don't really match what you say you believe about yourself, there's this book called "Mistakes Were Made, but not by Me: Why We Justify Foolish Beliefs, Bad Decisions, and Hurtful Acts" by Terrell Tavris. I just started reading that book too, and it's a good little reminder, wake up call on some things. What else is there? I think this is kind of like this is it. So start by having high expectations for yourself. As you build your capacity, you'll naturally inspire the same behavior in others, multiplying your impact. Remember, great leaders don't create followers. They create more leaders. I would rate this book probably like a good 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I really loved how nice it was. Nice and short, even though my synopsis was very long. But the book itself was nice and short, just jammed with great stuff. So it was obviously edited down really well to just have like the best nuggets. And I recommend you go and read the whole thing.